In Elmwood, Ohio, where autumn draped the trees in crimson and gold, October 2024 crept in with a damp, restless chill. The old Miller house on Maple Lane, a wooden relic with warped boards and a sagging porch, stood fragile after weeks of relentless rain, its foundation softened by time and neglect. Laura Hayes, 32, a nurse with brown hair tied in a loose bun and hazel eyes shadowed by exhaustion, lived there with her son Sammy, 6, freckled and blonde, and Brutus, their German shepherd, dark muzzle, light coat, a heart-shaped patch on his chest, like a quiet pledge etched in fur. Days before the storms, they'd wandered the river path winding behind town, Sammy skipping ahead, tossing sticks into the underbrush, his sneakers crunching wet leaves. Brutus trailed, sniffing the muddy earth, pausing once to growl low at the ground, ears twitching. "What's he hearing, Mommy?" Sammy asked, tugging Laura's sleeve, his voice bright with curiosity. She squinted into the grey dusk. "Probably a squirrel, bud." But Brutus's gold eyes lingered on the soil, sharp and distant, a flicker of unease in his stillness. That evening, the Miller house glowed warm against the drizzle. Macaroni bubbled on the stove, steam curling up to the cracked ceiling. Sammy's laugh bouncing off the walls as Brutus nosed under the table for fallen scraps. Laura leaned against the counter, sipping coffee, a faint smile tugging her lips. "You're gonna spoil him, kiddo." Sammy grinned, freckles dancing. "He's the best. He deserves it." Diane, Laura's mom, stopped by after her shift at the library, her gray hair pulled back, settling into a chair with a mug of tea. "Did you know Dad called him Ear of the Woods?" Sammy chirped, kneeling to pet Brutus's heart patch, his small fingers tracing the shape. Diane nodded, her eyes softening. Tom swore that dog heard souls, could find anyone, anywhere. A memory flared. Tom, 3 years gone in a car crash, climbing into his pickup for a late-night rescue call. Brutus leaping onto the seat beside him. "If something happens to me, he's yours," Tom had said, his voice steady as he rubbed the dog's ears. "He hears hearts." Another flashed. Tom by a mangled car on Route 12, years back, training Brutus through a drizzle. Never leave someone who might call without words. Stay till you're sure. Laura's throat tightened, the ache of his absence sharp as she pushed it down, rain drumming the roof like a restless pulse. By October 22nd, the deluge had saturated Elmwood's edges, the Miller house groaning under the weight of soaked timbers. Laura stirred oatmeal that morning, the kitchen dim, steam fogging the window panes streaked with rivulets. "Stay inside till Grandma gets here," she told Sammy, ruffling his curls as he sat cross-legged on the floor, rolling his rubber ball. "Brutus'll catch it if I throw it," he said, tossing it lightly, the dog's ears flicking, tail thumping once against the faded linoleum. She'd picked up an extra shift at the clinic. Money was tight, and Diane was due soon to watch him. The air felt heavy, the house creaking faintly with every gust outside. At 11:03 a.m., a low rumble vibrated through the floor, cups rattling in the sink. Brutus barked, sharp and urgent, pacing by the door, his hackles up. Laura turned, coffee mug slipping in her hand. "Sammy!" The house shuddered. A deafening crack split the air, wood splintering as the floor buckled, furniture sliding across the room. Sammy yelped, scrambling as a shelf tipped, books and a lamp crashing around him. Laura lunged, "Run, baby!" But the ceiling caved, dust exploding, swallowing them whole. Sound faded to a muffled roar. Her scream lost as beams slammed down. Brutus froze in the chaos. Gold eyes wide, then barreled toward the window, smashing the glass with his shoulder, leaping free as the roof collapsed, shingles tumbling into the sodden yard. Under the rubble, Sammy curled into a tight ball, darkness pressing in like a heavy blanket, his teddy bear clutched against his chest. Dust stung his eyes, settling in his throat, the air cold and thick with the scent of splintered wood. He heard Brutus barking, faint and far through layers of debris, and whispered, his voice trembling, "Papa said you'd find me." Time stretched. He thought it was night, the silence swallowing his small calls for Laura. "Mommy?" he tried, voice cracking, then went quiet, just breathing, his freckled hands shaking. What if she can't hear me? He thought, panic flickering in his chest. What if Brutus can't find me? He hugged the bear tighter, its worn fur damp against his cheek. You hear them, right? Brutus is close. Papa said. The quiet grew heavier, his breaths shallow, hope thinning as he pressed his face into the toy, waiting in the dark. Outside, Elmwood jolted awake. Mrs. Perry dropped her rake across the street, leaves scattering as she gasped. Oh Lord, the house. Mr. Klein bolted from his garage, tools clattering, yelling over his shoulder, "Call 911 now!" The Miller house was gone, reduced to a jagged heap of splintered planks and shingles steaming in the misty air, the rain-soaked ruins stark against the grey sky. Brutus burst from the wreckage, fur-matted grey with dust, barking wild and hoarse, his limp barely slowing him. Laura clawed her way out minutes later, coughing hard, blood dripping from a gash on her forearm, her nails torn and jagged from scraping at the debris. "Sammy!" she screamed, voice raw, stumbling forward, hands plunging into the rubble, splinters biting her palms. Mrs. Perry rushed over, her coat flapping. "Laura, stop! You're bleeding!" But she shoved back, wild-eyed. "My boy's in there!" Her gaze locked on Brutus. He stood rooted by a pile near the porch, nose pressed to a broken beam, growling low, paws planted like anchors in the mud. "Move that dog!" Klein shouted, waving an arm, but Laura snapped, her voice cutting through the drizzle. "No, he knows something. Leave him." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder as fire trucks roared onto Maple Lane, red lights slicing through the haze. Diane stumbled from her car, her scarf trailing, face drained of color. "Where's Sammy? Laura, where is he?" Laura shook her head, dust caking her throat. "I couldn't reach him. The ceiling." Her voice broke, hands trembling as she turned back to the wreckage. Firefighters swarmed, boots splashing in puddles, shouting orders. "Clear the area, it's unstable!" But Brutus wouldn't budge, ears flat against his head, whining now, clawing at the wood with a desperate rhythm. A young medic grabbed Laura's arm. "Ma'am, let me bandage that. You're hurt!" But she yanked free, dirt smudging her face. "Not till he's out, not till I've got him." Her mind roared. "I lost Tom. I can't lose Sammy too." She dropped to her knees beside Brutus, hands shaking. "Find him, boy, please." His gold eyes flicked to her, fierce and steady, then back to the spot, digging harder, claws scraping splinters. A memory flashed. Tom by that wrecked car, rain streaking his face. "Never leave him, Brutus. Stay till you're sure." Minutes stretched into an eternity. Rain dripped from the trees, mud-slicked boots, the air thick with the sour stench of wet timber and earth. Laura sank beside Brutus, nails bleeding, whispering over and over. He was by the wall. He was right there. Diane gripped her shoulder, her voice low. "He's tough, like you. He's still in there." Mrs. Perry stood back, wringing her hands. He found my cat once, you know, stuck in a storm drain 3 days, whining till we looked. I thought he was just being a pest." Mr. Klein nodded, wiping his brow. 5 years back, a girl went missing in the woods. Whole town searched for hours. Dogs, deputies, nothing. Brutus found a trail under the brush no one saw. Led us right to her. A firefighter slipped, his boot catching a loose plank, nearly tumbling into a gap. "Careful, it's a mess down there." They scanned with a thermal imager. Motion flickered on the screen, faint and erratic. But it was just water trickling through the ruin. Laura's hope faltered, her breath hitching. "No, no!" Brutus whined louder, a high, urgent sound, darting sideways, nosing a new path through the debris. "He hit 3 spots," a crewman said off mic, voice low with awe. "First was empty, second just a toy." They pried at the boards. A teddy bear surfaced, torn and muddy, its button eye hanging loose. Laura's chest caved, a sob breaking free. "Not him! Not my boy!" But Brutus barked, sharper now, clawing at a heavy slab with renewed fury. Then, a faint, choked cry pierced the silence. "Mommy!" The crowd froze, breath held, hands clasping tighter. Diane whispered, "That's him! Oh God, that's him!" The team surged, tools clattering, voices overlapping. "We've got a sound, move it!" They heaved at the slab. Another cry, clearer, trembling through the wreckage. Laura shoved forward, slipping in the mud. "Sammy, I'm here!" A plank splintered free, and there he was. Sammy, curled tight in a pocket beneath the chaos, face smudged with dirt, eyes wide and wet. "Mommy!" he sobbed, arms reaching up, his small body shaking. Laura dropped to her knees, pulling him free. His curls damp against her cheek as she clutched him close, tears streaming down her face. "You're okay, baby. You're okay." Paramedics rushed in, blankets flapping, voices calm but firm. "He's cold but stable. Let's get him warm." Brutus pressed close, nosing Sammy's hand, his heart-patched chest heaving with each ragged breath. Sammy's freckled fingers brushed his snout, voice shaky. "You found me, Brutus." A grizzled firefighter shook his head, stepping back. "Been on since '01. Never seen a dog like that. Nose like a sensor, but with soul." The crowd exhaled as one, Mrs. Perry wiped her eyes with her sleeve. Mr. Klein nodded slow. "Miracle dog, that's what he is." Diane sank beside them, wrapping her arms around Sammy, her voice thick. "Thank God, thank God." By the ambulance, a firefighter paused Laura as they loaded Sammy in, his tone quiet. "Our gear's not that sharp, ma'am." He led us right to him. She glanced at Brutus, swallowing hard. "He's not just a dog. He was a gift from someone who saved us once." Her voice cracked, eyes glistening with the weight of it. That night at Diane's, Sammy slept fitfully on a cot in the living room, a flashlight clutched in one hand, the other resting on Brutus's ear as the dog sprawled beside him. Laura sat nearby, knees drawn up, watching his chest rise and fall. The hum of the fridge the only sound. Diane joined her at the kitchen table, pouring coffee, her hands steady, but her eyes red. "He was part of this family's heart before Tom," she whispered, glancing at Brutus. "Now he's its pulse. I don't know how we'd breathe without him." Laura nodded, exhaustion softening into a fragile relief, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. News spread fast. Elmwood buzzed with retired dog's double miracle. By morning, the local station airing shaky phone footage of the rescue, Brutus's dusty form stark against the rubble. Reporters swarmed Diane's porch the next day, one shoving a mic at Laura as she stepped out. What'd you feel when you thought he was gone? She froze, then snapped, her voice cutting sharp. You want this for likes? This isn't a story. It's my life. My son's life. Sammy peeked out, grabbing Brutus's ear. Let's go home, boy. The reporter flinched, cameras backing off as Brutus's chew toy medal glinted in the sun, a gift from the fire chief. The next morning, Brutus was gone. Laura woke to Sammy's frantic voice. Mommy, he's not here. Maybe he went where he's needed again. Her stomach dropped. She searched the yard, the street, calling his name into the crisp air, her boots sinking in the mud. He wouldn't leave us, she murmured, but doubt gnawed. 2 days later, he padded back, limping slightly, sitting by the old lot where construction crews hammered at a new frame. Sammy ran to him, dropping to his knees. Don't leave, please. Brutus huffed, tail thumping slow, his gold eyes steady as he pressed his head against the boy's shoulder, staying put. A year later, October 2025, the new Miller house stood firm on Maple Lane, its fresh paint gleaming white under the autumn sun, the lawn neat and green. Sammy, now 7, woke one night, flashlight in hand, slipping from his bed in the quiet house. Brutus lifted his head from the rug, ears perked. I know you're awake, Sammy whispered, his voice small. Just checking if the house cracks. Brutus rose, nosed the bedroom door, padded down the hall to check the front entrance, then lay by the threshold, a silent sentinel. Sammy followed, sitting beside him. All good, like the old house. He leaned against the dog's side, flashlight beam dancing on the wall, a soft smile breaking through. Outside, a stone sat on the lawn, carved with care. Here lives a dog who found a son when all was lost. At school that week, Sammy stood before his class, paper trembling in his hands. My hero's got fur, not a cape. He heard me through the earth when I couldn't even yell anymore. The room erupted in claps, Laura beaming from the back, her throat tight with pride. That night she sat on the porch, the air crisp, stars piercing the dark above Elmwood. Brutus settled beside her, his warmth a steady anchor against her leg. Another memory surfaced. Tom before his last shift, the night before the crash, sitting on their old couch, Laura curled beside him. If I don't come back, he'd said, his hand on Brutus's head, you won't be alone. He'll find you, I promise. She stroked his heart patch now, the fur soft under her fingers, and whispered, You heard him when I couldn't, didn't you? Because you don't just listen. You hear hearts. Her voice trembled, a tear slipping free, caught by the wind. The camera rose, Maple Lane quiet, stars sharp over the rooftops, a warm light glowing from the window of their new life. The silhouette of Sammy and his flashlight flickering faintly inside. So, viewers, sometimes those who've been lost hear the loudest. And sometimes, that's all it takes to find the way back.